Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation. The Lord has made his salvation known and revealed his righteousness to the nations. He has remembered his love and his faithfulness to Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Burst into jubilant song with music. Make music to the Lord with the harp and the sound of singing, with trumpets and the blast of the ram's horn. Shout for joy before the Lord the King. Let the sea resound and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains sing together for joy. Let them sing before the Lord, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in righteousness and the people with equity.
Okay, you can't sit when you're hearing this. Stand up with us. Let's join our voices, our hearts together with him this morning. Strength will rise.
Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our song
be seated. And good morning. Let me add my welcome to you. I'm Pastor Gary. I'm thrilled to see you here the Sunday after Easter, but the spirit of Easter continues to go in the resurrected Lord. Well, a lot of exciting things happening here at Waynesburg First Church of the Nazarene. Some of the things maybe you saw out in the foyer. One is a brand new board about our Brownsville trip that some of our teenagers and families are going on a mission trip in June to do some major work, some construction, some VBS, some sports camps, kind of a overall ministry to the people of Brownsville for a week in June. We're all not going. We all can't go. But you know, by helping financially, you can have a part of that ministry. And so Pastor Tim put these envelopes out there on the board with numbers on them. That number is a dollar amount. And if you would like to give, you could take an envelope, put that amount in the envelope, a check or cash, or put your credit card in there. We don't care. And put it in the box, and they'll get that money. What I noticed, and I'm not surprised, that the big amounts are already gone. The bigger ones, because that's the way we give here. But you can take a bunch of smaller amounts, and it adds up to a big amount. But it would be neat to get all those envelopes gone. Darla and I got ours. We're doing 90. Is that okay? Sure. Okay, good. All right. And then also, out in the Welcome Center, there's a place where you can sign up to be a part of a drive-through Tell the Story of Jesus. Now, we introduced this last week. We got an overwhelmingly, underwhelmingly response of about 3 people saying, yeah, we'll do that. Well, we were hoping for 20 different cars to tell the story of Jesus, different, like trunk or treat only storytelling. And if we don't get about 12 today, we're probably going to have to say, we're going to have to do another idea.
Pastor Gary, I have to ask a question about it. And maybe this is a question other people have. Can I ask?
Yeah.
He's going to roll his eyes because I interrupted him. But when you say telling the story, how is the story told? Do we have to talk? Do we have to tell a story?
You can talk, you can act it out, you can dress up, you can give away stuff, you can tell, you can...
Can you just decorate your trunk and not say any words?
No.
Oh. Okay. Did you have that question? I had that question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I see that hand. Thank you.
Listen, this is not a church meeting, okay? I'm just doing the announcements. You know, frankly, we don't care how you do it as long as you're telling the story of Jesus. And the different episodes are out there. There's about 20 of them. If we get a dozen today, we'll know it's a go. If we don't get about 12, we'll probably have to think of another idea. But there you go. So you've got the teens going to Brownsville. You got the kids with the drive-through in a couple of weeks. And I think, are there any more announcements, Darla? I think that's it. God bless you. Hope you enjoy worship today.
Hope is built on nothing Jesus' name. and forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship Your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship Your holy name. I'll worship Your holy name. Yes, I'll worship Your holy name.
You may be seated.
We were not created to live stagnant lives, to be stuck, bound, or broken. We were created with a purpose, a calling, a mandate, a mission. Even in these uncertain times, that calling remains the same: to go into the world, to make disciples, to share the love of Jesus. This is the work of Easter, the greatness of God, the power of the resurrection in action. What Jesus did has changed us, made us a new creation, given us an unimaginable hope. Grace has taken root. Mercy has flooded our souls, and the promise of eternity has redefined our everything. So why keep all that to ourselves? It's time to put Easter in motion, to make a difference, to share Jesus with the world around us. If your life has been changed, it's time to get to work.
Today is the 7th message from the great I Am passages of Jesus. This is the final week of that. Jesus is referred to himself as the bread of life, the light of the world, the gate, the good shepherd, the resurrection and the way, the truth and the life. And after all of that, Jesus left the upper room and probably stopped off at the temple to teach and to pray. And in doing that, he taught from what we now call the 15th chapter of the Gospel of John. Would you stand with me, please, for the reading of God's word? John chapter 15. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I've obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I've called you friends, for everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. This is my command: love each other. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. Picture in your mind this: steps leading to a linen curtain in the temple with flowers all over the curtain. Solid gold chains hanging alongside the curtain from the door beam. Above the curtain, beneath the roof line, grew a gigantic grapevine of pure gold. The vine represented Israel. Wealthy citizens, people who had a lot of money, would donate their own grapes and grapevine to that sculpture, again, of pure gold. Some of those grape clusters were as tall as a man. In fact, it was so much gold in the temple that when the Romans took over the temple in AD 70 and put out that gold that they found in the temple, it depressed the value of gold in the country of Syria by 1/2. The vine and the vineyard were old and sacred images. The vine represented the people of God, planted and tended by God, so that they would produce good fruit. And when they didn't produce good fruit, they were chastised. Even in the New Testament, the idea of vine and vineyard was a favorite metaphor. Jesus used it a lot in his parables. But the Jews always owned the vineyard, and the Jews were always the vine, and they and we are the branches now that Jesus has come. You see, everything changed from the Gospel of John chapter 15 to today. No longer do we own the vineyard. No longer are we the vine. God owns the vineyard. Jesus is the vine. We are the branches. From the vine, the branches sustain life. And we know dead branches when we see them. Even a non-gardener like me, I know a dead plant when I see it. Fruit would be a good indication that there's life in that plant, in that vine. But fruit is not a test of the vine. Fruit is the byproduct of us being a part of the vine and abiding in the vine. As branches, we inherit the capacity to enjoy God. I'm hoping that you see, when the worship team is leading us in worship, the joy of God on their faces. I hope when the worship team watches you sing in the morning, they see the joy of God on your face. Do they? I hope they do, because part of being connected to the vine, part of the life that God gives to us and in us is not a superficial joy. It is a real, honest to goodness joy in living. It shows. It shows by the way we worship. It shows by the way we sing. It shows in the way we give testimony to what God is doing in our lives. So the branches inherit the capacity to enjoy God, but they also enjoy the ability to love other people unconditionally. For when Jesus was talking about that love of God that he's instilled within those who follow him, it wasn't a superficial love. It was a love that says, no matter what you say or do or think about me, the walls are down, the rib cage is open. You can say or do anything you want. The truth is, I love you. And I'm willing to give what I have for you. Unconditional. Agape love. Unattached. We are dead. Attached to Christ. We are alive in him. Now, what does that mean? Well, you've probably picked up by now that I'm a big Disney lover. I like Disneyland. I like Disney World. And for the few years that I was single, before I met Darla, I had a friend who had connections at Disneyland. So when I wanted to go to Disneyland, I'd call my friend who knew a friend, who was a vice president at Disneyland. And he could get us in to Disneyland for free. It was great. He was the guy that was in charge of hiring costume characters. So all those little fuzzy animals that walked around Disneyland, he hired and trained. That was his job. And my friend knew him, got us in. But here's the deal, and some of you might know this. If you ever got in free at Disneyland, you'll know that they don't just send you tickets, which, by the way, are worth over $100 at Disneyland. You have to go in with the person. In other words, that person has to accompany you into the park. So my friend Dan calls his friend, and he meets us at the gate, and he escorts us in to the park for free. Both parks, Disneyland and California Adventure. We did all the rides in Disneyland, and then we went over to California Adventure. Now, we were also with another friend of mine who loves Disney even more than me. In fact, he loves Disney so much that every time he goes, he gets his picture taken with Mickey Mouse. And he makes an appointment for all of us to get our picture made with Mickey Mouse. Okay, this is a long story. Has nothing to do with my sermon, but I just want to tell it. We're over in California Adventure. We're riding that haunted, what is that ride that goes down? Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror. Terrible ride. I love it. And I know what it will do. It all of a sudden will drop you like, I don't know how many stories, 100 stories down, fast. And I knew, and so I took my glasses off, put them in my pocket. And my ticket that the guy had gotten us was also in my pocket. I was afraid, because we went down so fast, I was afraid I'd lose them. Sure enough, when we dropped, my glasses took off. I caught them. Saved my glasses. Got off the ride. And my ticket was gone. And we had an appointment over at the other park to have our picture made with Mickey Mouse. My ticket's gone. Call your friend. He could not be reached. We have an appointment with Mickey Mouse. What do? I paid $100 to have my stupid picture made with Mickey Mouse. Yeah, but when you look at it, it won't be worth $100, I'll tell you that. All of that to tell you this. It's a relationship. It's Jesus is saying, you think you can be good on your own. You think you're enough in yourself to make it. No. The lesson is very clear. We are the branches attached to the life-giving vine. And the problem for the Jews was this. Not only did they think they were the vine when they would tell the story, they also believed that they owned the vineyard. So that there was an element of saying, we'll do what we want, when we want, and how we want to do it. And now Jesus is saying, then you've missed the point. All along, God has owned the vineyard, and now he sent me to tell you that I am the life-giving vine for you to be able to live out all that God has called you to do. You are not the owner of the vineyard. In fact, then he goes so far as to say, by the way, God being the owner of the vineyard means that when he wants to, he will prune you. Now, again, I'm not a gardener. In fact, the best I can do is kill plants. When I was in junior high, my mom bought a new house, and back in the back, there were, it was new to us, it was an old a house that had already been built, but in the back, the previous owner had planted miniature fruit trees. One of those trees was a peach tree, and when it blossomed out, all of a sudden, there were these huge peaches on this little tree. Huge peaches the size of basketballs, as I remember them. And I'm thinking, this is incredible that we'll have these peaches every year, and we can have peach pie and peach cobbler, peaches and cream, peaches and herb. We can have all these peaches, and if we can't eat them all, we'll sell the rest. I'm thinking, this is incredible. The next year, the peaches were pretty good size, but they certainly weren't as big as the year before. Strange, the tree was growing bigger, but the fruit was getting smaller. Now, I don't understand the concept of pruning because it doesn't make any sense to me that a tree that wants to grow can't just grow as big as it wants. But it seems that there's something about having to prune it back to produce the better fruit. And Jesus is reminding us once again that because God is the owner of the vineyard and that he is the vine, that we as branches sometimes have to go kind of a pruning, a cutting back of some of the things we thought were important in order to produce the fruit that is the byproduct of us being in Christ. Does that make sense? No. For some of us, it doesn't. And yet it is a truism. It's the way it works with God. I was reading in devotions this week from Genesis chapter 32, and I stumbled on the story of Jacob. Jacob was a conniver. He came out of the womb a conniver. He was holding on to Esau's ankle or heel as he came out. And from that day on, he was kind of working his brother and his dad. He worked his brother for a birthright by trading a pot of porridge for his birthright because his brother was hungry. And then he tricked his dad into giving him a blessing that he didn't deserve because his brother was supposed to be blessed, but he tricked his dad into thinking that he was his brother. And so this is Jacob's way of life. The name Jacob literally meant grasping onto the heel, but could also be generally translated as a grasper, a manipulator, a supplanter of what was supposed to be. And in the Old Testament, names meant something. If you're given that name, you realize that pretty much was describing who you are. Names meant that this is what we perceive in you, and this is what you lived out. Words and names meant something back then. And so here we have this manipulator, this supplanter, this one who takes advantage, Jacob. And now in the 32nd chapter of Genesis, you have Jacob wrestling with an angel of the Lord. In my Bible, it's called the man. He's wrestling with the man. And it's God. Many times when we read that passage and we talk about it, because the way it kind of reads, it looks like that Jacob is wrestling with God, trying to get a blessing out of him. But in reading in my devotions this week, Dennis Kinlaw, in his book, was basically saying, I don't think that he was asking God for a blessing. Instead, I think what he was doing is telling God, please don't bless me. In other words, I don't want your blessing. I want it to go my way, the way I normally do, because that's my nature. And I tell you where you get that idea. When God, through the angel, asked Jacob, what is your name? And in that, Jacob has to confess, this is who I am. I'm a manipulator. I'm a grasper. I'm one who changes the things for my own advantage. And at that point, Jacob not only had to confess that to God, he had to give up everything to God. And God said, now you have a new name. Your name is Israel, which goes from grasper, manipulator, supplanter to God rules. Folks, I know that was a long time ago, but some of us need to go to God to say, I've held on to things far too long. I have manipulated. I've wrestled. I've argued with God. I've ignored God. And I just need to say, this morning, what God has given me, I give back to him. And your name needs to be changed to letting God rule. You have an envelope. You better not have opened it. But now you can. And get the first page out. Just the first page, which says animal inventory. Just the first page that says animal inventory. And then take a writing utensil, and if you don't have one, there's a pencil in your envelope. And circle every word on that page and every box that describes you. By the way, if you don't have an envelope, we got some people back there, they'll get you one. So raise your hand and we'll get you an envelope. Anybody? There's one over there, and one up here. They're running now to get the envelopes. Okay, I'm just going to give you about one song's worth of time to circle every word that best describes you in every box. All the words, not just one, We got one up here, one over here. Thank you. Guys, Alan, let's play a tune while they're marking their page. All the words that describe you. Or I could just sing, I guess. All the words in every box. Now add up all the words in the L box and put the number down at the bottom of the box. Then add up all the words you circled in the O box. Put that at the bottom of the O box. All your words that you circled in the G box, put that at the bottom of the G box. And all the words that you circled in the B box, put that at the bottom of the B box. All right. Are you ready? Are you done? No? Yes? One more song.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. Just add up all the words you've circled in each box. Now here's what I want to see. Of the 4 boxes, how many circled the most in the L box? Would you raise your hand? All right. By the way, I want to say this, and in a minute you'll be able to look to see what this actually describes. But if a husband and wife both, if you raised your hand on the L box, let's pray for that couple. Can we do that? Because that's one incredible marriage. How many had the most circled in the O box? Could I see your hands? Wow, not many. All right. How many had circled most in the G box. Whoa. All right. Interesting. Okay. How many had the most circled in the B box? B. Okay. A few more. All right. Now, this is just a quick little test, quiz, inventory on personalities. And you have in your envelope the description. L is for lions. You have a lion personality. Let's get it done. And there's all the things in the envelope to describe that. O is otter. Trust me, it'll all work out. Those are otters. We didn't have a whole lot of otters in the church this morning. So it's interesting. G, we have a lot of G's. That's the golden retrievers. Let's keep things just the way they are. We had a lot of people. That's your personality. And B, beavers. How was it done in the past? Those are the beavers. And they're really basically get it done people. But it's kind of looking back on what we used to be. So anyway, there's a lot more description in there. But also in the envelope is a spiritual gift inventory. Now, a number of you, if you've been in the church for a long time, you probably have taken a spiritual gifts test along the way. Many times we'll take a spiritual gifts test just because we want to know, what are my spiritual gifts? And then we don't do anything with it. And therein is the problem. And so this is what we want to do. For the next 3 weeks, I'll be teaching a class on spiritual gifts. Not only on what your gift is, but how can it be used in this church? And why do you have that gift? And what significance is that gift to this local congregation? Now, it's not the be-all, end-all class, but it will be an important class in helping us get to the next level. It will also work with our assessment report as we start doing things to make a difference in our church and in our community. So I'm going to teach that class starting next Sunday. I'm going to teach it at 9:30 in the morning. Pastor, you go, but Pastor, Sunday school starts at 9:45. I know, and I don't care. Because I need an hour to teach the class, and I need 15 minutes to get ready for the morning service. So up in the harvester's room, I will be teaching that class next week at 9:30 in the morning. That is for the people who don't already have a Sunday school home. You don't have a class already, 9:30. I'll teach the same class next Sunday night at 6 o'clock in the harvester's room. I will teach the same class on Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the harvester's room. Same class, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. You have your pick. And if those 3 times don't work for you, get with me and we'll find another time that works. I want to make it available to everybody in the church that is open to using your spiritual gifts to help us move to the next level. It's a 3-week class. I'll teach it Sundays, 9:30 and 6, and on Wednesdays at 6. Hopefully that fits within your schedule. There's also a spiritual passions inventory in that packet, which basically asks you, what are the things that concern you about ministry for you? Things that you think the church could be doing, should be doing, that you could be involved in. Once again, you can do this just for your own curiosity. You can do the spiritual gifts inventory and the ministry passion just for putting it down on paper. But if you would like to help us as a church move to the next level, then I would suggest to you that you be a part of this 3-week class. It's only a 3-hour commitment, and I think you'll be glad you did. Certainly it'll help the church. It's not that if you don't, it doesn't eliminate you from ministry or being a part, but it certainly will help us know who is going to go with us in the next few weeks and months. Does that make sense? Oh, I hope so. Well, you take the packet with you. If you come to the class, bring the packet with you, okay? If you don't come to the class, you can keep it as a souvenir, or if you'd just like the church to know, I want you to know I'm praying, I'm a part, I want to show you what gifts I have, we'll record it, and we'll probably even kind of just say to you, well, if you have those gifts, let's use it. But I would hope you'd be a part of that class. All right? Well, are we going to, let's sing a song. Stand with me, please. Let's sing together.
They don't actually have the words to this because I didn't know that you wanted it. But some of you may know the words anyway. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. I'm going to sing those same words again that I just sang. And if you wouldn't mind, just close your eyes. And as I mentioned, some part of you, visualize that part and commit it to God this morning, how he can use you. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as you choose. Here am I, all of me. Take my life, it's all for thee. Here am I, all of me. Take my life, it's all for thee. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for thee.
Now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. God bless you. Have a great week.